Hi guys and welcome to my channel. Myself Dr. Akshay, and in today's session I'm going to be discussing about the topic cell membrane. If you guys want to learn more about the cell, its structure and its functions, then click subscribe and the bell icon. So let's do this together. Coming to the topic cell membrane. A cell membrane is a thin, elastic and pliable structure that measures a thickness of about 7.5 nanometers to 10 nanometers. And coming to the composition of the cell membrane. The cell membrane is composed of 55% of proteins. So here, composition. Proteins are of about 55%. And phospholipids accounts for 25%. And cholesterol accounts for 13%. Then other lipids accounts for 4%. And carbohydrates accounts for 3%. So by totaling all these values, we will get 100%. Coming to the lipids present in the cell membrane. The cell membrane is made of a lipid bilayer membrane. And this lipid bilayer membrane always blocks the entry of water molecules into the cell. Lipid bilayer membrane is a thin, double-layered structure of lipids, and each lipid layer is of one molecule thick, and this is spread all over the cell surface. The basic lipid bilayer membrane is made up of three types of lipids. And those three types of lipids are, the first one is phospholipids, and second one is sphingolipids, and the third one is cholesterol. Coming to phospholipids, here you can see the phospholipids, okay, and I am extracting one phospholipid molecule. So while observing this phospholipid molecule, you will get two different structures. The first one is the head region, and the second one is this tail region. This head region is always water loving in nature. That's why this is hydrophilic head. And this tail region is a water hater. It always repels water. So that's why this is known as hydrophobic tail. And this hydrophilic head is always composed of a phosphate radical. And this hydrophobic tail part is composed of fatty acids. And this hydrophobic tail part is soluble in fat molecules. This hydrophilic phosphate portions constitute two different surfaces for the cell membrane. This hydrophilic portion is always in contact with the extracellular fluid on the outside, and this hydrophilic portion is always in contact with the intracellular fluid on the inside. The lipid bilayer membrane in the middle is always impermeable to water-soluble substances such as ions, glucose and urea because of the presence of this hydrophobic tail portion. It always repels these substances, water and water-soluble substances. That's the main reason. On the opposite side, some substances such as oxygen, carbon dioxide and alcohol can directly penetrate through the cell membrane. They do not require any transporting medium. They can just directly go through the cell membrane. Consider one example. An alcoholic person, if he drinks too much alcohol, for the next day, he will be suffering from severe dehydration for some reason. So in this case, alcohol has been directly absorbed through his cell surface. Next, coming to sphingolipids. Sphingolipids, like phospholipid, they also contain a hydrophilic head portion and a hydrophobic tail portion. The sphingolipids are derived from the amino alcohol group sphingosine. The sphingolipids are mostly found in the neuron cells. Complex sphingolipids performs the following functions such as protection from the external attacks, then signal transmission, and it always provides an external surface for the attachment of extracellular proteins. Next, coming to cholesterol. Cholesterol accounts for 13% in the cell membrane, and this cholesterol are always found in its dissolved state. This cholesterol always maintains the fluidity in the cell membrane, and also it controls the selective permeability of water-soluble substances through the cell membrane. So I have a question. How this cholesterol controls the permeability of water-soluble substances through the cell membrane? How? Because the cholesterol molecule always increases the intensity of hydrocarbon chain over the cell membrane. Because of this, it always controls the permeability of water-soluble substances through the cell membrane. So coming to integral membrane proteins and peripheral membrane proteins. These two types of proteins are mainly glycoproteins. So, see this figure? This is integral membrane protein. This one is also integral membrane protein. And this one is also integral membrane protein. So, what's the peculiarity here? You can see this integral membrane protein protrudes all the way through the cell membrane. Observe this one. Is it penetrating all the way through the cell membrane? No, never. This is attached to the surface, isn't it? So this is the peripheral membrane protein. From the word itself, peripheral, that means attached to one surface. So this is the peripheral membrane protein, and these three are integral membrane proteins. And most of these integral membrane proteins provide structural channels for the transport of water-soluble substances through the cell membrane. Because you already know that water-soluble substances and water cannot directly penetrate through the cell membrane because of this hydrophobic tail part. It will always repulse these substances. So these water and water-soluble substances need a specialized transport unit. So that is provided by integral membrane protein. Other integral membrane proteins functions as a carrier protein for the transport of substances through this lipid bilayer membrane. And integral membrane proteins can provide as a receptor molecule for the transport of some water-soluble substances such as peptide hormones. So when this peptide hormone attaches over this receptor, it will undergo conformational change. And this conformational change initiates a cascade of reactions in the inside of the cell. Thus, this helps in relaying signal from the extracellular part of the receptor towards the inside of the cell. And what's the function of this peripheral membrane protein? Peripheral membrane protein always controls the functioning of integral membrane protein. So peripheral membrane proteins always functions as the controllers for the transport of substances through the integral membrane protein. You will always control this integral membrane protein as a function of peripheral membrane protein. So coming to the next topic is the glycocalyx. So glycocalyx is nothing but these are the loose carbohydrate coat that is spreaded over the entire cell surface. So you can see in this figure that many of these molecules dangling outward from the cell surface. These are nothing but these are glycocalyx. So proteoglycans are carbohydrate substances which are attached over the protein cores, and these protein cores are loosely attached over the outer surface of lipid bilayer membrane. And next, coming to functions of glycocalyx. The first and foremost function is that this glycocalyx always contains a negative charge over its surface, so that it always repels other negatively charged particles or proteins while towards its outer surface. So the next function is that the glycocalyx of one cell membrane will always get attached to the glycocalyx of another cell membrane. and this attachment is through ionic bonds and hydrogen bonds. And many of these carbohydrate molecules serves as a receptor substance for the binding of hormones such as insulin, so that thereby initiating cascade of reactions. So after this combination, it always activates certain internal proteins which are attached to it, and this in turn activates cascade of intracellular enzymes, and some carbohydrate molecules enters into immune reactions. So that covers the topic cell membrane. I hope you guys learned about this particular topic. Thank you so much guys. Love you all guys. See you guys in the next session.